Graham Eddington. Graham's spelled Graeme, and I've got a middle name, John. And I'm here at a secret location at the Carpenter's Workshop at the Bastow Church in the suburb of Bassendean in Perth, Western Australia on planet Earth. So today's date is Tuesday the 19th of November 2019, and I'm here to demonstrate my invention, which I've called the opposing torque dynamic clutch, and it's also a type of infinitely variable transmission. So what happened was about just over 30 years ago, I was very frustrated with the current transmissions, with using clutches and manual transmissions, and on the 20th of October 1989 I decided I was going to make a transmission without a clutch. So that's what I've done, and the name of it, I wanted to include the word clutch because that was the problem that I was trying to solve, and also the words opposing torque dynamic clutch describes how it works in just a very few words. So before I go into detail about how it works specifically, there's four things that a gearbox needs to do. So firstly, you need to be able to do slow manoeuvring for things like car parking, reversing, heavy stop-start traffic, and also if you're in soft sand or something like that. So the second thing a gearbox needs to be able to do is to accelerate rapidly so that you can get up to your cruising speed. Third thing is it needs to be able to cruise economically so that you can get good mileage out of your vehicle. And then the fourth thing it needs to be able to kick down instantly. So for example, if you're cruising along and you need to overtake, or you want to go up to a higher speed, you need to be able to change your ratio and the revs of your motors to allow you to do that in a safe manner. So what I've got, now I'll just go through what I've got here. This is the actual transmission system here. Now also, in addition to that, I've got two motors. Now one is a 1 horsepower motor and one is a 3/4 horsepower motor, and I'll explain why that's so a little bit later. But it's absolutely essential that it has two motors. And so I'd just like to pay tribute to Nikola Tesla, who was the inventor of the three-phase motor, and he was born in 1856 and he died in 1943. So I've also got an air motor here. Now that's not part of the invention, but I put that here because I'm experimenting a little bit with energy recovery systems. So you have a small compressor running off your wheels or the axles or the tail shaft with an electromagnetic motor clutch on it, and that's so each time you put your foot on the brake you can accumulate a little bit of compressed air. So eventually, by the time you stop, the air in the tank can be used for when you're taking off. Now the importance of that is when you take off, that's when you use the most energy to get your vehicle moving. So by having the assistance of a little bit of compressed air, just for maybe 20 or 30 seconds, that allows you to save some of your battery power, so when you're cruising you can extend your cruising range a little bit. The other thing with air motors, so it's very cheap and easy to do that, but probably the most important thing is with an air motor, you can load it up and it's not going to cause any problems. So I'll demonstrate that in a moment. So now to the actual invention itself. What I've got here, there's 20 gears. So I've got 5 planetary systems, and down the centre I've got what's called coaxial shafts. Now what that means is there's a small one running down the centre, which is that one, and that goes all the way through, and that is connected to the smallest of the sun gears, and then there's 3 planet gears, and these are the largest ones. So I've also got another shaft around that shaft, but it actually has the same centre, and that's what's called a coaxial shaft, and that one goes down there. And then this larger shaft is connected to this sun gear here. And at the other end we've got another coaxial shaft, which is connected to this sun gear here, and then that drives the planet gears here. So what else have we got? This bit here is called the carrier, so that's what holds everything together. And I've used a threaded rod here so that I could get the spacing here. Now, in a production model, when you put power on, when you're driving one of these sun gears, there's a tendency for that to twist a little bit, because you got power here and then that's driving another gear over here somewhere. But because they're not evenly spaced, there's a little bit of twisting action. It's part of the force is counteracted by when it drives the other gear, but a production model would need some sort of bracing along here, a bit like a torsion bar on a car. So that's to stop that little bit of twisting action. But I haven't shown it here because it's not necessary for me to have the bracing there just to demonstrate it. The other thing that a manufacturer might want to do is, I've used module 1 gears, which are 10mm wide, and it probably more appropriate would be a module 1.5, which is 15mm wide, and also if you use helical cut gears, they're quieter and smoother, and you can put more torque through them. So that's just something for manufacturers to do. So I think it's time to okay. So now there's 3 possible applications. Now, because I've got 3 coaxial shafts, any one of them can be the output shaft. So for example, that could be the output shaft, and then this can be an input and this can be an input. Alternatively, that could be an output shaft and these 2 could be inputs. And then thirdly, this could be an output and these 2 could be inputs. So there's 3 possible applications that I've thought of. So the first one is light aircraft and possibly marine. So if you could imagine that there's a propeller on there. Oh, and another important thing to note, if I hold the carrier, now if I turn any one of these shafts, that one will turn the fastest, this one will turn the slowest, see how that one, and then this one is somewhere in between. So that's because of the internal ratios that these pulleys are connected to are different internally. So if you could imagine a propeller on there, and I had two inputs. Now the really important thing to note is the inputs and the outputs are all turning in the same direction. Some infinitely variable transmissions around use a differential, and that causes a problem because your inputs want to turn in different directions. But this one, it's always going to be, doesn't matter which, if I turn that input or I turn that input, just need to squash my finger, they will all turn in the same direction. So that's one possible application. Now, just to, even though air doesn't have a lot of resistance, if I just simulate load on there, and then again if I turn one of the inputs, the carrier wants to turn in the same direction. So, and it doesn't matter if I turn that one or that one. But what it allows you to do, because you've got two inputs, so when you're taking off you can have both motors running, giving you the maximum amount of power on your propeller, and then when you get up to cruising speed you could switch one of your motors off. I don't know how practical that might be, but that's one of the possible applications. So another possible application is if I use this as my output. So for something like conveyor belts or something like that, this one, if you have load on your conveyor belt, it doesn't matter. So now these two are my inputs and this is my output. So you'll notice this time that the carrier is turning in the opposite direction. So it's counter-rotating. So as the speed of your conveyor belt picks up, that will gradually take it up. Now there's not a lot of torque on there, which might sound like a bad thing, but with conveyor belts you just want to accelerate them very slowly, so that you don't overload your motor and you don't tear the belt. So that will just gradually pick up speed, and regardless of what speed the conveyor belt's doing or what speed your motors are doing, the output speed of the gearbox will always match the speed of the conveyor belt. So it's not trying to accelerate it or de-accelerate it, it'll just match the speed, and the small amount of torque will gradually pick up. So with conveyor belts you have more than one motor driving it anyway. So that's a second application. Now the third one, which is what I've got it set up for, is for automotive application, which is the main thought process behind the transmission. So this time we've got, this is my output. So, and then that is my input and that is my input. And as I said before, we've got a bit of a double combination here. We've got an air motor and we've got a electric motor as well. So what I'll do now, doesn't look like that's providing much resistance there. I'll just get a bit of wood. I might have to use a bit of wood to stop this from turning, but to demonstrate that. So if I just start off, with this motor over here. Doing. So I've only got this motor running at the moment, and what that's doing, driving this, I can't quite get enough load on it there. So if I put load on the output shaft, I can actually stop it from turning. And you'll notice that the carrier is counter-rotating quite fast. Now, I can also if I send power to the motor, so that's stopped running. So I'll just point out, I'll just stop that for a bit. That'll keep running like that as long as you like. So it's not overloading the motor, it's not overloading the speed controller, but you can sit there with the output shaft not turning and the input going. Now, on the internet there's a guy called Troy Reed. So if you look up killed by the government battery, self-running motor with no batteries. Reed is spelled R-E-I-D. Now he's from California, I think. He's got a motor which will keep running after you energise it. Now he's put it in a very small car and he's the only passenger in it, and he's used an automatic transmission to utilise the power of this motor. He's unfortunately been killed, but he was really no threat at all to the government, because the government could have just stolen his patent anyway. And if you have a look at the video, it's a very, very small car and he's the only occupant, so it wouldn't be suitable for anything other than a very small car with 1 or 2 occupants. So he really wasn't any threat to the government, he wasn't any threat to the oil companies, and he wasn't any threat even to the car manufacturers. So it's a very sad thing, because he was trying to help humanity, but people obviously didn't see it that way. So that would be a possibility for this motor here, because that can keep running. And the reason that can keep running is because there's nothing holding the carrier. So what happens is the input torque of the motor will react against the load or the inertia of your vehicle when it's stopped, and then that just simply counter-rotates that. So it does apply a little bit of usable torque to the output shaft, so that's okay for your slow manoeuvring, but it doesn't give you the full amount of torque you would need to drive the car. So you could replace this when, over the next few decades, there'll be developments in permanent magnet motors that are self-running, but also in parallel to that there'll be developments with more and more efficient electric motors. We're getting efficiency with battery storage, and also with the use of kinetic energy recovery systems. I think the combination of those will be what make electric vehicles viable, because at the moment we're just relying on more and more battery storage to solve the problem. But with a transmission like mine, where you can use, which requires 2 input motors, one of those could be replaced by a self-running motor. So that's the initial bit. So now when you want to accelerate, we need to, I'll just put this one on again. So that's done. So we can switch on these. So when we turn on the motors, it gives you the more torque that you need. But this air is going to run out in very soon. So now we can switch this second motor on, and that'll take over from there. So now we've run out of air, so we can shut that off. Now we've got a one-way clutch on here, so now the air motor is out of the picture. So it's now running on the two motors. Now what I have to do, so we're cruising, so the fourth thing that you want to be able to do is you want to be able to kick down. So this motor is more powerful than that one, and that will make it go into a lower ratio. So if we, I just need to simulate some load, and then if I drop this one down and increase that one a little bit, into a low ratio, but it hasn't necessarily increased the torque, because we still need a bit of torque from the other motor. Okay, so now it's gone back into a high ratio again. But it's very... Now this is... where I'll just get that to stop now. As I demonstrated before, there's nothing holding that carrier from turning. But what's actually happening, it's turning at a certain speed that way. This is actually counter-rotating at the exact same speed. So it's a little bit, just trying to think, but more importantly, the amount of torque trying to turn the carrier that way is equal to the amount of torque trying to turn it that way. So the two opposing torques combine to give you torque on your output side. So that's why I don't need any clutches or bands. But I can do that at any speed. So if, for example, I made that rotate a little that way, it's actually gone into a lower ratio. But by matching the torque on the other one, even though it's rotating, it's at a different ratio to what it was in the other station. And I can do that character. So for example, if I increase the power to this motor, so that's now gone into a higher ratio. So if you keep that amount of rotation going and then balance out the torque so it stays at that same speed, which it appears to be doing, it's now in a higher ratio. So with the aid of sensors, so you would need a sensor on each of the inputs, a sensor for your speed on the output shaft, and also a sensor on the carrier. So with the aid of a computer, you would be able to actually program in, you could make it behave like a 6-speed, for example, by having certain change points and certain predetermined ratios. So as the vehicle gets up to a certain speed, it will change into a different ratio, but you would need a computer to do that. So you could have 3 different modes. You could have it working automatically like a CVT. You could pre-program it to set different ratios. For example, you can have 6 could be 10 to 1, 5th could be 5 to 1, 4th could be 3 to 1, 5th could be 2 to 1, and 6 could be 1 to 1. And then you could actually program in when you wanted it to change to those specific ratios. And then alternatively, you could just make it so that it runs at a fixed ratio, which is what a lot of the transmissions now do. They're, I'll just do something differently. And you could make it so that it's constantly at maybe 6 to 1 or 7 to 1 or 8 to 1. And that way the speed of the motor would always just stay in relation to the speed of the vehicle. But that's basically it. Let me just have a quick look at my notes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll just change it down to a lower ratio again. So the motor, I've increased the motor speed on this particular motor, and so now you can see that the carrier is counter-rotating. So I'll just try and increase the load, see if that'll... Yeah, there's probably not enough hydraulic fluid in it. But if you increase the load, that's also going to make it go into a lower ratio. So then if you go back to a higher ratio, if I increase the power to this one and reduce the power to the other one,